Welcome to Face the State. I'm Ariana Bennett. Thank you for joining us. Well, we might not be seeing them right now in the more populous parts of the Truckee Meadows. If you drive east, you'll find yourself in Mormon cricket territory this time of year. Now, these very large bugs can cause quite a stir and also some serious problems when they show up. Nevada State entomologist Jeff Knight is here to talk about that. Jeff, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Now, I have to admit, I didn't even know there was a state entomologist until this Mormon cricket thing came about. So tell me what the office does.
Well, we oversee all the regulatory aspects of insects in the state, the quarantines, eradication programs if we have it. I'm also involved in the education of our pest control companies and employees and nurseries. We also, I get to take care of the fun part of my job. I get to take care of the reference collection of insects for the state of Nevada. It's there at our office and contains some 200,000 or so specimens. We also do insect identification for the public, and the public can bring specimens into our office. They can also send them in via the mail. They need to be dead. But they,
oh gosh, I'm just imagining the reality of opening up a box of live insects. Hey, can you identify
it's
these
happened.
for me?
Oh
my
gosh. But also now I get a lot of pictures via email and via text messages to my cell phone, and we can help people get identification so they can control the right insects and not kill the good insects that we have out there, and do a better job of insect control.
Right.
So.
Now, I imagine right now you're probably getting a lot of contacts from people about the Mormon crickets in particular. They're kind of hard to miss, as it turns out, and you brought some to show, which is just really fun and cool. So these are the Mormon crickets. So tell me what we're looking at here.
Well, we have two males and two females in there. The males are the kind of short ones. The females have a long, kind of looks like a sword coming out. That's what we call an ovipositor. It's an egg-laying apparatus they use to lay eggs into the ground. These are adults. They started, Mormon crickets have one generation a year. They start hatching around the 1st of March. They probably became adults about 2-3 weeks ago, and egg laying has started. The eggs are laid in the ground. They develop to a certain point, then go through the winter, and then hatch out. So really the number of Mormon crickets we have right now is all we're going to have for the year.
And how many are we talking about here? I mean, I know that some places are reporting quite a few.
Well, we're getting reports of fair numbers, primarily in Humboldt and Pershing County. We have seen populations of upwards of 25 to 40 per square yard over several hundred acres. They get in what we call bands or herds of crickets, and they move along. They can actually move quite a distance. As an adult Mormon cricket can move about a mile a day if they want to.
Wow.
And so we try and keep track of them, and we have been getting a lot of reports of them. We appreciate people calling in and letting us know where they are. It really helps us in monitoring what's going on and in the control programs that we could do. And really, the big thing is plan better for next year.
So, I mean, obviously for people who don't study bugs, there's a little bit of an ick factor, which is probably why a lot of people are commenting on it. But it's not just about that. It's a public safety issue as well.
They're definitely a public safety issue. Not just that they get into homes and come into yards and stuff in some of these areas. They do, when they cross roads, they're cannibalistic. So when one cricket gets squished, 2 or 3 will come out and eat that cricket. They get squished, and eventually the roads can actually get slick. Then you throw in the fact if we get a summer thunderstorm, that's really when we've had our accidents. The last go around, we had 6 or 7 accidents in Nevada that were attributed to Mormon crickets and
oh my gosh,
mixed with rainfall. So
wow. Is this something that we see in other states, or is this a uniquely Nevada problem?
Well, Mormon crickets occur throughout the Intermountain West, the Great Basin, the Rocky Mountains, over into Colorado, even into the Dakotas and Montana. Idaho is having an outbreak right now too. And the Great Basin, if you will, along Utah, Nevada, Idaho, seems to all be in sync, and we have these cyclic outbreaks. We didn't see crickets from 2008 to 2016. It was hard to find one. They think the whole cycle is drought related, and the drought kicks them in. They come out, they start reproducing, and it takes a few years for the natural predators and parasites, the things that feed on crickets and normally control the populations, to kick into place. And then the populations drop off again, and we may not see them for years.
Huh. All right. So for people who don't want the crickets in their yards, I know that we've got a picture of like you can put up a fence because they don't fly, right?
They don't fly.
And they can't jump very high? And
they don't jump very high. So if you take some slick plastic and bury it close to the ground and have it 18 to 24 inches tall and fairly vertical, the crickets will hit it and go around it. And it's a technique that's been used clear since the 30s and 40s here in Nevada. The crickets have been a problem that long. So.
Okay, good to know. And then really quickly before we move on from the crickets, is it important for the state to really make sure this population doesn't continue to grow? I mean, does it pose a crisis situation, or is it just kind of an inconvenience?
Well, what we do is monitor the populations, and our goal is not to eradicate crickets from everywhere, but our goal is to protect agriculture, protect the public safety, the roads, the towns, and then it'll kick in and we'll see the cricket populations drop off again. But it's important, and then we can do our control procedures that we do in these areas that we need to protect.
Okay. Now, obviously, crickets aren't the only bug population we need to keep an eye on, and I know that a big one in this area is insects that harm trees, and there are a few different ones that do that. And we have a few pictures, starting with bark beetles, the damage that they cause to trees. Those are some holes, I think.
Yeah, those are exit holes from the western ash bark beetle. That's a bark beetle that's been attacking our ash trees when they get stressed. Most of the bark beetle problems are handled through the Nevada Division of Forestry. We do, however, work with them in monitoring populations and in looking for exotics. We have a number of exotic bark beetles that aren't here yet, but are in other parts of the world, and because of our commerce and shipping in everything, these insects are being moved around a lot. And if we can catch them in our traps and get a handle on them early, then we can go in and do an eradication program.
So what are we looking at here?
This is the emerald ash borer. It was introduced about 15, 20 years ago into the Midwest. It attacks only ash trees, and it's probably the #1 concern for urban forests in the western United States. And a lot of these wood destroying insects are getting moved around the country, not by themselves, but actually by people carrying infested firewood around. So it's one of our big concerns is to try and make sure people use local firewood. Oregon and Washington and Idaho have all passed regulations that you have to use firewood that's either been treated so the insects are dead, or a local one. But these, if you look at ash trees in Reno and in Las Vegas, they're a big component of the urban forest.
Okay, and then I know there's one more. There's a moth, a gypsy moth, that we got to look out for. We definitely don't want these in our area.
Yeah, these are another one that occur back east. They defoliate several million acres a year. We've had outbreaks in the west where they've been transported. Now these get transported around by people moving. The moth lays her eggs on yard furniture and stuff like that, and also the larvae pupate on that furniture, and then they get moved across the country, and we've had infestations through the years pop up, and we've luckily been able to take care of them and again eradicate them.
Okay, so
before they get established.
So if people see any of the insects that we, just showed, it like in larger populations or in their yards, you want them to report it?
Yeah, we want anybody to bring in insects if they don't know what it is. We're glad to take a look at it. That's a fun part of my job, I think. And it helps us out. We don't have a huge staff. So the more eyes that we have out there looking and saying, hey, I don't know what that is, I need to find out. Or if you're from another part of the country and you see something you think, is something that we should be concerned about, they should bring it into the office.
All right.
And contact us. All
right, well, we have just about a minute left, but really quickly, can you list off some of the good bugs, the bugs that even if we're freaked out, we shouldn't kill?
Well, ladybugs, ladybird beetles, technically, are top of the list. Lacewings are at the top of the list. Spiders are the big one. They're not insects, but they're one of our major beneficials that take care of a lot of the pest insects for us and stuff like that.
Like mosquitoes. They eat
mosquitoes, yeah.
Bad bug.
Bad bug. So there's lots of them out there. I mean, there's really the number of bad insects is a very small percentage of the total number of species of insects that we have out there. So most of them are actually good. And
then especially a shout out for the pollinators, because we definitely don't want to kill the bees.
Yeah, we really want to, especially our native pollinators. And there's been a lot of things going on with honeybees, but the native pollinators are, because of habitat loss and climate change and those types of things, are really having some issues.
Okay, and we're almost out of time, but really quickly, any other advice that you'd have for people to make sure that we're cultivating the good populations and not killing the ones that we shouldn't?
Well, we promote what's called integrated pest management. It doesn't eliminate chemicals, but we only use chemicals when we absolutely have to, and we only apply them where they need to be applied, and we look at other avenues like the cricket fence or the beneficials for doing control for us.
Okay, all right. Well, Jeff, thank you so much for your time. I sure appreciate it.
You bet.
Interesting stuff.
Thank you.
All righty, well, coming up on Face the State, you might have seen virtual reality headsets for video games, but scientists are looking into the technology for a lot of other reasons. We'll learn more about that right after the break.